En Vogue, featuring Don Robinson, Maxine Jones, Sidney Herron, and Terry Ellis, originally active since 1989. Today's feature is the story of the dark side of the music industry and one of its biggest examples of how artists were and are treated still to this day when they themselves aren't aware or have no representation that's aware of the shady businesses conducted that stunts talent on a daily basis. En Vogue, if you did a polling of the best female R&B groups of all time, would most certainly be in the top 5, while some would even say they were the best to ever do it. Me personally, I would have to say top 3 behind Destiny's Child and TLC. To even be included in that conversation in itself shows just how talented En Vogue truly was and how big a ceiling they had as artists. Rarely do you see female groups where on any given day, any one of the members could rotate into the lead position and the group would not skip a beat. En Vogue's original members had it all. They first off could sing the lights and air out of building. They all had swagger and a sultry sex appeal, and they each were beautiful in their own individual glories. Their name literally means in fashion, fashionable, or fashionable in the moment, and they were. What made them even more special were they were the first 90s girl group releasing their debut album to begin the decade in 1990, a golden era for black music. They sold millions of records, over 25 million in total over their career, and achieved many awards and nominations, including 7 Grammy nominations and worldwide recognition. They literally had everything, except money, financial freedom, or the right to dictate how their talent and name would be used for the duration of their careers. By all accounts, En Vogue was done dirty by the music industry, particularly by their managers, producers, songwriters, and label owners Denzil Denny Foster and Thomas McElroy, not to mention Sylvia Rhone of Atlantic Records, who later joined the train of milking En Vogue for just about everything they had. To this day, those 3 are worth millions and live a life of luxury, while a few En Vogue members went broke and bankrupt over the years, even had their homes taken away to foreclosure when they couldn't continue paying its mortgage. You ask yourself, how do you sell 28 million records, each selling for $9.99, and there somehow isn't enough money to go around for everyone to be financially secured, at the very least the artists who deliver the music and are the face that draws the money in? En Vogue could have easily been the biggest and most successful female group of all time, gaining a lot more than they did. Most importantly, all live a deserved, comfortable life today, where they were long retired, but for these reasons, they have one of the more unfortunate stories ever. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to Florida's finest, 05 on IG for this request. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. En Vogue was a 90s R&B group created by Denzil Foster and Thomas McElroy in 1989. The two were songwriters and producers that wanted to make the 90s version of the girl groups popular before, like the Supremes. They held an audition looking for 3 members when 3,000 girls showed up. Don Robinson, Maxine Jones, and Sidney Herron were chosen as the final 3 before Terry Ellis, who showed up late but put on an amazing performance, was added, making a quartet instead of a trio. Foster and Thomas's idea was to find girls that could sing and were also attractive, and they hit the nail on the head. They signed the girls to their label Busted Productions and brought them to Atlantic Records, calling themselves En Vogue. They began working on their debut album, releasing their first hit single, Hold On, that was an overnight success and classic to this day. The album Born to Sing went platinum with 3 charting singles. Stunt number 1, Coming Up in a Bad Time. With a story like En Vogue's, there could be many fingers pointed in many directions to who's at fault, but the most blame, unfortunately, although not satisfying, would have to go to the times these girls were in, where it was simply normal practice for labels, executives, managers, handlers, all to take advantage of artists that for the most part were all young, excited to work their dream for a living, and felt fortunate and grateful to be picked among the thousands of others they beat out for the position, and chance at fortune and fame. It still happens today, but back in a time like the late 80s, early 90s when the initial contracts were signed, these girls in particular had no idea what a good deal was and saw their opportunity to be in the spotlight more important than the business on the back end, like most talent do. In those days, I think it's fair to say that most artists were in unfavorable deals that leaned heavily toward the label and managers of the talent, who were all savvy business people by trade, working in business, while artists worked in business too with no training or experience. There was no social media or internet where discussions were being had, where information was being shared, so artists for the most part had to roll with the punches or lose their positions. Had En Vogue members take issue with signing those initial deals, they'd simply be replaced and the ship keeps moving. Even after the success of their first and second album, which went 3 times platinum, they still weren't able to walk because at that point, they were so financially strapped they had to continue on, hoping things got better. They were paid $10,000 before each album and another $10,000 after it was turned in, along with for each album sold, they each made 2 cents per. That's crazy to think about. The other $9.97 lined whoever else's pockets and caused disruption within the En Vogue machine. Stunt number 2, not all on the same page. One of the most difficult things to do in life as an artist or creator is work with other artists and creators. In general, working with other people in all walks of life is very trying and takes immense amount of patience, understanding, and selflessness. 3 things the human person struggles with inherently. In a 4-girl group, that's 4 minds that are all talented, at the point of album 2 for En Vogue, all famous and confident, and all still young and inexperienced, except for the bad ones that have them barely able to pay for the middle-class homes they lived in. The last thing they needed was to be on different pages. After album 1, the girls looked up and noticed they were making about $35,000 a year after going on tour with MC Hammer and complaining about their financials. Shocked, Hammer helped them with a lawyer who informed them of the bad deal they were in. They all sat down and had a plan to approach Denny about renegotiating their contracts, but before they could, Terry Ellis, who was romantically involved with Denny at that point, went and told him before the group could confront him, leading to him taking away their writing credits on their albums, meaning being owed even less money. The other 3 members believed Terry was working for herself to secure a solo deal, and when asked why she sabotaged their plans, she said simply she needed the money. While Don and Maxine spoke up against receiving such little pay while everyone else got rich, Terry and Cindy didn't back them because Terry was in bed with Denny, along with being broke and in need of his support, and Cindy was married to a Major League Baseball player, so wasn't strapped for cash like Don and Maxine. It created a divide that never settled and caused breaks in the structure that were never fully repaired. Later, Don was offered a solo deal as well and accepted the offer from Sylvia Rhone and Atlantic Records, her reason again because she needed the money. Money led them all to making solo decisions, and because they didn't leave when they could have after album 2, they stayed in a bad deal much longer with promises of solo opportunities or things getting better, and they never did. Stunt number 3, losing Don Robinson. In a lose-lose situation, Don Robinson, the group's most outspoken member and arguably the most popular member, decided to leave the group prior to album 3, EB3. Sylvia Rhone and Atlantic Records asked her back but under the same deal as before, and when she declined and left the meeting, she took many fans along with her. It was a huge loss for the group, who went on to re-sign with Atlantic and re-recorded EB3 without Don's vocals. The album still went platinum but wasn't received as well as the previous albums without Don, and came after a 5-year hiatus the group took dealing with negotiations and contract stalemates. They were dropped by Atlantic and signed to Elektra for album 4 in 2000 that failed to chart in the top 50 or go gold or platinum. Dawn Robinson would sign with Dr. Dre, but a Hype Williams disagreement during a video shoot disrupted her time there, and she left there as well, signing with Pookie Records to form a supergroup called Lucy Pearl with Raphael Sadiq of Tony 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 and Ali Shaheed Muhammad of A Tribe Called Quest. The group flopped and Dawn continued to have financial issues, losing her home in the process. Through Alicia Keys, the girls reunited in 2008 and received interest for tour dates and even label deals on the table. Unable to agree once again, Dawn and Maxine left to start their own version of En Vogue. They were taken to court by Cindy and Terry over the use of the name and lost since Dawn couldn't be included because she had left the group, making it a 2-1 decision in favor of Terry and Cindy. Maxine would have her house foreclosed as well shortly after, being evicted and filing for bankruptcy. All in all, one of the saddest stories of the music industry I've ever heard for the original 4 members. Everyone around them got rich buying $20 million homes, and the talent all either had to sleep with their oppressors, be saved by other successful men, or lose everything they worked their entire lives for and no one cared. They were done dirty by the industry and now live normal lives, far from the outcome any of them imagined for these reasons. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.